The first distance goal in running is usually 5K followed by 10K. Well, once you've reached that milestone, you're probably going to be looking for the next step, and that tends to be the half marathon. Well, at 21K, it is just over double of the 10K that you've already achieved.
Yeah, now that said, it does require a little bit more structure as well as training than that 10K. So today we have got some tips as well as a training plan to help you reach that next running milestone.
When you start to reach these sort of distances, you're going to have to put in a little bit more work to make sure that you can stay injury-free. And sadly, it's not just as simple as running further.
No, so adding in a couple strength and conditioning sessions each week will not only make you more efficient in the long run, but will also help condition your legs for that extra loading that the mileage is going to put onto them. And try and focus on single leg exercises or movements in general, which will not only help improve your proprioception, but also your strength too.
Yeah, the stronger you are, the further you're going to be able to run while still maintaining that really good running form, which in turn will make you more efficient and also more resilient. And on the topic of strength, you also need to address the core, as that plays a major part of the puzzle when it comes to your running posture.
Now, we will be covering the sessions in detail in the training plan, but do be prepared for an emphasis more on the long run. Although that being said, we're not going to be dropping speed work altogether, as your body still needs the stimulus of running faster than the race pace that your half marathon will be at. And then hills as well are a really good way of including strength work into your actual running, because hills work in a really good fashion of having less impact on your body, but still giving you that increased strength.
Well, talking of reducing impact, we've scheduled in some rest days with optional cross training. Now, the idea behind these is you can still train aerobically without that added impact. So things such as swimming, cycling, or elliptical training are all really good. You just need to make sure you keep it at a very low level intensity. Now, as we've mentioned, you are going to be having to spend lots more time running, both during your training, but also during the half marathon itself. So your nutrition, your clothing, and your shoes all become far more important.
Now, if you're happy with the shoes that you've been running in so far, then that's great, but do check the wear and tear on those and be prepared to swap them out with a like-for-like pair if necessary. However, if you do think you maybe need a little bit more structure and stability to your shoe, then now is a good time to do a bit of research to counter that increase in mileage that's going to be coming.
Yeah, and you're going to be running further, so therefore for longer, and it's the time that you'll get any issues flagged up with your clothing, whether that's areas that might be rubbing or problems with temperature control. So it's a really good idea to make sure you've got all the right kit now, even if that means investing, but it'll make your training that much more enjoyable.
Now, an area that you really have to pay attention to, especially when training for the half marathon, is our nutrition. Now, with that increase in training load, you really have to stay on top of nutrient intake, and as well as that, the recovery that you're managing in between all of your sessions. You really have to start thinking about fueling properly before each of those sessions. And with that, you need to start addressing what you're actually going to be taking on board during the race itself. And a really good plan that we think is to use your long run to start practicing what might suit you best.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's now time to address the actual training plan itself. So we're presuming that you've already reached 10K and you're comfortable running that distance. So this plan's ready to take you on from there. We've actually used a 10-week program that's going to progress you through, and it's targeted at a 2-hour half marathon.
So let's take a quick look at the structured plan. Now, there is a lot to take in, and don't worry if you can't catch it all, because we do have it as a PDF available in the description below. But we have based it around a normal working week, meaning that there's more volume loaded into the weekends, with Monday being a rest day as a result, and then Tuesday simply to get your legs moving again after that day off.
Well, most Wednesdays you get a choice, and this is where it's important to listen to your body so that you can be mentally and physically prepared for Thursday's run, because that is a key session. So you need to make sure you've had a really thorough warm-up and you focus on targeting either race pace or faster than race pace.
Yeah, and given that hard session on the Thursday means that Friday is just about getting the legs flushed out and moving in after that hard effort. Saturday you actually do have a choice, but don't forget that Sunday is a big run.
Yeah, you'll notice that the distances gradually increase for the Thursday key sessions and the Sunday long runs. But if you follow this program, you'll just find yourself getting ready for that half marathon without even realizing.
Now, if you are going to manage some strength and conditioning work, then we would suggest Mondays and Thursdays would be good times to do it. However, if you're managing to only do some core stability and stretching, then do that whenever suits you, but try and do it before you get too tired from all of that extra running.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this program is a guide, so feel free to adapt it, but just please make sure that you keep that differentiation between your faster work and your steady runs, and whatever you do, don't neglect or skip that rest day. And earlier we talked about hills being great for getting you stronger. Well, you can actually swap those in for your Thursday runs if you feel like it. And when it comes to the long run, don't be afraid to maybe go off-road or do some undulating runs, so it'll just make it all a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, now do remember that in all of this, you are doubling up your distance from what you've run previously, so be patient and stick to the plan. It is all too easy to feel good and want to skip rest days to begin with, or maybe go too far or even too fast in your sessions. But trust us, that will come back to bite you later on.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you need to listen to your body when it comes to deciding whether you need to rest or do that cross-training session. And I think that leaves us to say good luck to you guys. Give us a thumbs up like if you've enjoyed it, and hit the globe to subscribe. And that strength and conditioning that we've talked about quite a bit during this video, if you want some tips on that, we've got a video just tailored to runners down here.
And if you want to find out how to run a sub 4 hour marathon, if this half marathon works out well, then you can find out how to do that here.